wrapping up on the election season tonight.
The Dan York State of Mind program is brought to you in part by Lookout Rhode Island and Takeo Comfort Solutions.
You know, when you only do one show a night and it's only a half an hour, you have a randomness sometimes to how you try to finish off the election season. Loose ends, candidates that want one more conversation, sometimes you have to say no. Candidates you know you want to get in, zigging and zagging, taping on one day, running the show on another. And so we are seeing, you're seeing this on Friday evening. This is a show we taped on Tuesday afternoon when some serious news broke on the Speaker of the House and his handling of a situation with one of his fellow state reps on a sexual harassment claim by a fellow legislator. We're going to talk to Steve Frias here this evening. He is the candidate who came this close to upending Speaker Mattiello in the 2016 District 15 Cranston race. And there are a lot of feelings out there that he might be coming, I don't want to jinx him, might be becoming a favorite in this race just because of the way the ebb and flow has gone. I have no idea how to predict the outcome of the Cranston race. However, most of the pundits would say that this might be the most important race in the state. And we hope that the Speaker, now follow this, I know this can be a little bit of a headache. We're taping on Tuesday, big story broke on Tuesday. We've been trying to get the Speaker in one more time before the taping of the show, so I'm hoping that he had a chance to come in either Wednesday or Thursday, 2 days or last day ago. But having said that, just scrambling to get these voices on. You'll also hear from one more gubernatorial candidate tonight. In the meantime, headline. There he is, Steve Frias. By the way, did you get all that on the schedule? Did you follow all that? Do you know what day today is?
Today is Tuesday, right?
Yes, but
we're airing on Friday. Yeah. That's right. And the election's next Tuesday.
Exactly.
That's the most important day.
Right, there you go. Yeah, good to see you, Steve. Thanks for coming in. Thanks, the Republican candidate. Pop up some of these flyers. This might be the most entertaining flyer race. Kev, can we throw some of these on? Okay, so this is Nick Mattiello. The person buying the ad always looks so good, right? Mm-hmm. He's feeling really very summery. Yeah. And look at you. That you disheveled.
I'm working hard at the doors.
What are you out there?
Yeah.
I've seen you like that. You look like me out there in the middle of the winter, just trying to figure out what's next with a winter coat and all that kind of stuff. And of course, we can talk about the comparisons, but then flyers like this. And by the way, this is the mild stuff. So this is Speaker Mattiello being courted by Governor Raimondo. He's been an excellent partner. I can't think of anything she's done wrong. The irony of that flyer that you put out is that we both know that they'd like to rip each other's throats out. Well, I know they'd like to rip each other's throats out. So there's some humor in that one.
Well, they have a competitive relationship.
Yes. Well, by the nature of the game, the Speaker, and the Governor have that kind of thing. Even though, but the two of them have not seen eye to eye on a lot, even though they play the game pretty well. Let me ask you this. As a Republican who came this close last time, and with the governor's polling going on right now, where she's topped out at that range, the high range that I predicted she would at 45%, might scooch toward 50 by the time this thing just explodes. Smart to be picking on the governor, including her as kind of a thing to chuckle about?
I think the governor is unpopular in Western Cranston.
Because?
Because she wasn't popular in 2014. I haven't seen it going door to door. I think Fung's going to win my district. I think he's going to win it by a decisive margin.
Okay.
And I don't agree with the governor. So if I don't agree with the governor, I'm not going to hide that.
You think Allen will win your district handily? Well, it makes sense. It is Cranston.
Yes.
Thought on some of the polling data that we saw released earlier in the week that has him losing ground?
My two thoughts are Raimondo is at about 45 and Trillo is at about 9. Fung really has to keep the Trillo and the independents below 10 to win, and he can't let Raimondo get above 45. He needs to do some work to bring those independents, undecideds, over to him and bring Trillo's numbers down.
All right, let me highlight for me what you think are the key arguments in this race. We're going to get to the story from earlier this week because obviously you have a right to be able to speak about it, and I hope that the speaker came in to talk about it prior to the week. Again, we're taping on Tuesday, you're seeing on Friday. Other than some of that muck, what do you think are the final talking points for the voter to make a decision?
Well, it's basically, are you satisfied the way things are going in the state? Number one, I've talked to people, do you think we can survive economically being a high-tax state with a reputation for corruption? That's really what it comes down to. And the Speaker's been in power, in office for 12 years, in the leadership for about 8 years, Speaker for over 4.5. He's not getting it done. We're still a cellar dweller when it comes to business, when it comes to taxes. And then we have all these scandals erupting around him periodically. We need to have government reforms that reduces the power of the Speaker, reduces the concentration of power, and start cleaning up the State House, whether it be like line item veto, inspector general, term limits. That's really what it comes down to. We cannot keep going on the way it is, being a high-tax state with a reputation for corruption.
Well, you paint him in the middle of scandal, and if you take a look back, he said there's been a lot of bumps in the road and associations that are not comfortable for him. But by and large, he hasn't comported himself poorly.
Well, I would disagree with this aspect. He had ran a campaign that engaged in illegal activities, whether it was the his PAC, which spent $72,000 illegally, whether it was the illegal coordination.
I wrote the wrong check from the wrong checkbook.
That sounds like a lot of nonsense to me. You were taking money out of one account that was supposed to be for other candidates to help yourself. That's number one. And number two, the illegal coordination activities with Shauna Lawton. Who,
by the way, was a fledgling Republican candidate running against you in the primary in 2016. I mean, you crushed her.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, I get that. My point is about that is that he runs a campaign that did engage in some illegal campaign finance activities, and then he surrounds himself with people in leadership that engage in inappropriate activities. He puts them in these positions of power, and then when they go wrong, he says, "I didn't know. How could I have known?" And then he does these things, and then he doesn't correct it when it does come to his attention, as we're seeing today, it appears.
All right, you know what? I'm going to pause here, throw my director, Kevin, a curve, come back and talk about the story that's really hanging over the Speaker's head. Stay with us. So that's WPRI headline from Tuesday of this week. This was a splash that the Speaker did not need in this race. Again, you're watching this program on Friday. We recorded it on Tuesday. Steve Frias is my guest. You'll see him again in a moment. The Speaker was dealing with an allegation against Representative Keeble from the northwest corner of the state. He, too, in the middle of a re-election race, reportedly was, well, the allegation is by a young state representative that he was just harassing her in ways that have not necessarily, at the time that we did this program, been on the record, published and specified. Yet there's been enough background work and enough journalistic evaluation to suggest that the charges were legitimate. What's troubling about this is that it is an ongoing 3.5-year saga. And within 90 minutes of this being brought to the attention of the Speaker in terms of a story, he demoted Representative Keeble from the chairmanship of the Judiciary Committee. What was interesting is that Mr. Frias and Mr. Mattiello were participating in a newsmakers debate a couple of weeks ago, and Ted Nesi asked a series of questions.
Do you think sexual harassment is a problem in the House, and if so, how have you addressed it?
Well, sexual harassment is a problem throughout society, and the House is one segment of society. We've addressed it by requiring training for all of our employees, and we made the recommendation for our representatives. And that's the first way we did it. We created the commission. The bills all came in at the end. Now, as you know, I'm a pro-business speaker. That's how we've lowered our unemployment rate from 11 to 4. We have more jobs than ever before. So you have to take a look at the impact of some of these bills, and that's what I told Representative Tanzi and everybody at the time. We will assess that, but we need a longer period of time to have conversations with folks and to see what the impact is going to be on businesses. So that process will start up again in January, and we'll have conversations and we'll move the bills along as is appropriate at that time.
As Speaker, have you ever taken any action to deal with specific sexual harassment allegations?
Issues come up here and there, yes, and we've addressed them.
Are you satisfied with how they've been addressed?
I am.
I don't think it appears that other people were. I don't think the public is satisfied with what's going on here. When you have to fire your chairman 90 minutes after allegations came out that you've been lingering for years, you know that you haven't handled this the right way.
Yeah. And again, the Speaker may have responded to this prior to the airing of this show. But as we sit here on the Tuesday recording of this Friday program, it is somewhat shocking that the Speaker let this thing go this long. If it wasn't, if it was not serious enough to respond to, why was it serious enough to respond to within 90 minutes of it being reported out in the way that it was? Election seasons change people's behaviors. Mm-hmm. Are you playing this hard in the district or intend to in the final weekend push?
I'm going to be going door to door and be talking to people. I can't imagine people won't be talking about this. I mean, a sexual harassment allegation, then years of harassment. This is not some Mickey Mouse committee. The Judiciary Committee is one of the most important committees, and he chairs it. And he knew about this. He doesn't deny it. And it was serious enough to remove him already from the chairmanship. It brings into question how the Speaker handles these things. He has a history of putting these people in these positions.
We have to remember one thing, though. Steve Frias is running against the Speaker as a state representative, not as Speaker. And so should you win on Tuesday, you'll take the Speaker out of office, and there will be a new vote to elect a Speaker.
Yes.
So you'll go in as a rookie. And despite some of the warts that surround the Speaker, time brings those, whether the good decisions are bad. The people of Cranston aren't going to benefit from his leadership thing. Your response to that to the constituents is?
If you're talking about legislative grants, you're not going to be getting legislative grants
I don't
from
think
me.
it's just the grants. I don't think it's just the grants. It's the gravitas, you know, and the position that he holds.
I think that if the people of Cranston think they've been getting good leadership from a guy who basically has been covering up someone who engages in sexual harassment, I don't think that's good leadership.
I will tell you this, the grant thing is too funny. We didn't have time to put this into the show, but I played the parts of the debate on the radio after they aired. You may have heard a little bit about it. I admire your tenacity on it. You and I have agreed on this for a long time. I went about 7 years fighting these grants on the radio, and I just finally ran out of gas. The grants are the little cheesy checks for $500 to $5,000, $7,500 that come to organizations on behalf of representatives who you think are really connected and doing a great job to get them. What they have to do to get them is, well, the leadership in both the Senate and the House would say nothing. It's just it's a fair determination. But the idea that there's 6 figures in grant money that comes to the city of Cranston because the Speaker is the doler-outer of the money.
That's correct.
And you sitting there going, no grants. It's like you're this grant now. No soup for you. No soup.
I'm not going to get offended that you compare me to the soup Nazi, but it's not what I would like to call myself.
The grant Nazi, no soup for you.
Now, I'm much more of the, I'm just looking out for the taxpayers. There's money in the,
the culture of this place, you know what, good luck with that. And I admire your tenacity. You and I agree on this, that it's one, I think it's the worst corrupt program we have in the state. But I'll tell you, the nature of Rhode Island is they like the guinea.
We have this.
They think those are important programs, and they are.
We have a favor system. It's a favor factory up there at the State House, and people just want to be part of it. And I think that what we got to do is give the money back to the taxpayers and let them do what they want with it.
Would you support a revised system that is much more equitable from district to district? I mean, so a cause in one district, if the legislator has found favor or is making the decision a la the Speaker, may be, you know, absent in another district. Same kind of an organization, same kind of cause, whether it's the Little League or the food pantry or whatever it is, and they don't get anything because they weren't in the right place. Is there a way to equitize, is that a word, or equalize this whole thing?
Maybe there is, but it has to be transparent. It has to be debated as part of the budget. It can't be like one guy sitting on the 3rd floor making decisions on you've been nice to me, you've been naughty to me, and you get some money and you get nothing. It can't be that anymore.
All right, final thought on why you should be elected.
Because we got to do something about this state's direction. We cannot continue to be a high-tax state with a reputation for corruption. You vote for the speaker, you're going to get more of that. If you vote for me, maybe we can change that.
All right, you lost by 87 ballots last time. The mail ballot was pretty prominent. I'm not so sure the speaker's got that artillery this time around. You confident?
I'm pretty confident, sir.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.
All right, when we come back, I don't know where I am. When we come back, one more gubernatorial candidate. Stay with us. So there was the opening, at least attention headline for Dr. Luis-Daniel Munoz, who is a candidate for governor. And he's a perfect gentleman, a nice guy. He's been here before. I don't need to talk about you. I'll talk to you. You're sitting here with polling data that says you and a group of folks are arguing for 4%, the last crumbs in this race. So why are you still doing this?
I understand what the polling data is saying, but I also understand that voter turnout is not. We haven't maximized it in the state. Not many people turn out, right? Overall, it's less than 50% of Rhode Islanders that end up coming out for the general election. So my, I would say, duty as a leader and someone seeking leadership has been to try to empower voters with an understanding that they have an option that involves a candidate that's presenting pragmatic solutions around healthcare, education, and specific taxes that would relieve the burden of taxation on our small businesses. So I understand what the polls are saying, but I also believe that they're working within a small pool of voters that tend to turn out, which is great. But what I'm trying to do is empower voters that normally don't come out to vote to see that they have an option.
Yes, so you got the names of maybe 150,000 people that aren't pollable that you can bring out to vote here?
Well, we did what we call it's entitled a persuadability analysis, but what it really focuses on, it looks at towns and cities that vote on the basis of ideas, and the way that you analyze that is a town and city may one time waver more heavily in electing Republicans, another cycle Democrats. And what that shows is that the residents in those towns and cities are looking for ideas that will create some positive impact on their lives, and that's what they're voting for. So what we've done over the last 9 months is really spend time with many of the residents throughout the state, but we have focused heavily on towns and cities that have demonstrated that they're looking for candidates with pragmatic solutions.
All right, listen, we've done your story before. You can go on to foxprovince.com, just look up our guest and hear his life story. But the 30-second summation, so that we can get to some issues, is that you're in the medical field. You call yourself doctor because you have a degree, but you're not a licensed practitioner in the state, correct?
I don't consider myself a physician. I don't practice medicine every day, so I'm a medical doctor.
Right, and you're an entrepreneur.
Correct.
Running a business designed to do what?
Well, the business, it's moved on to the technical partners, but what we did was essentially create a laser-based tissue scanner. So it was helping diabetic patients assess wounds.
Did you sell it? Did you sell the business?
So we partner with larger companies.
Okay.
So the partnership, you arrange deals in terms of successes and milestones. So that's a whole other business discussion.
So you earn a living doing what?
Consultation. Help hospital systems that want to adopt technologies that would make healthcare more affordable and accessible. Essentially help them understand which technologies are key and how to implement them into their infrastructure, which at times can be one of the most rigid infrastructures.
So the key issues for you are?
Healthcare, specific investments around community health to make mental health more accessible and affordable. Also confronting the monopoly on health insurance that we have in the state, either by placing government at the negotiation table between insurers and hospitals where those decisions are made, or opening up our borders to additional insurance companies, which may be radical but necessary to stabilize health insurance premiums. Around education, I think we should think outside the box. We have a lot of institutions that don't pay taxes, like Brown University. They do payments in lieu of taxes. And if we can work with those institutions to provide us with additional services around after-school programs, I think that we can make vocational training universal for all public high school students.
Sometimes fledgling candidates in a race actually have some of the brightest ideas. I don't know, haven't been able to study enough of what you and I have discussed and what you've written about, other than to just kind of digest it and say, okay, you've got a point. Have you been able to mix with either of the two leading candidates in your travels to sell them on the idea that what you're bringing to the table on an issue basis is transferable to their leadership? In other words, have either one of them said, hey, you want to come talk to me about this stuff?
No invitations to talk. With that said, I've been running a campaign for 9 months. There have been collisions with other campaigns. Mr. Fung has certainly acknowledged on WPRO that he has seen me at all of the different events he has been to. Recently, we ran into each other at North Kingston High School, and he had some positive things to say about my healthcare plan or approach. With that said, I've also been assessing their platforms and what they're saying, and unfortunately, I haven't heard anything around healthcare or any out-of-the-box solutions around education.
You don't think their approaches match up?
I don't believe that they have a priority to edify Rhode Islanders around healthcare and education, and I truly believe that that's the vehicle to building an economy.
Well, when it comes to healthcare right now, Gina just wants to get the computer to work. The UHIP debacle, as it's known, moves into the health exchange, and the health exchange is reliant on the computer to work. And so right now, rather than content and real treatment issues, they're just trying to get everyone to connect right. So
right, but
they're stunted right now.
Unfortunately, that's true, but a lot of what I bring to the table is that combination of healthcare as well as an understanding of technology. And around Deloitte and just the whole UHIP challenge, we need to do more than just attempting to salvage the technology. I think we need a full-out investigation into whether there were guarantees in the contract, and if not, there are other out-of-the-box solutions that we can leverage.
You present well, you're articulate, you're a young
sir.
guy. Are you just trying to set the table for future runs? This is a one-time shot, or are you in this for the long haul?
I want to contribute to positive solutions in life and in the community and in the state of Rhode Island. I don't want to say that this is a platform for another race, because I don't want to allow my ego to take over the reason I'm running, and I'm running for Rhode Islanders. So what I've said to voters that I've engaged along the path is, if you want change, vote for it this time. I'm the 5th name on the ballot.
Very polished answer. Now tell me, are you done running after this election? Yes or no?
So this election is.
You want me to just take that for face value?
No, I mean,
and I appreciate
I'll see it
very deft and
through.
diplomatic approach, but you're not going to win this race. We know that. So it doesn't mean that you haven't said some really smart things that'll be picked up, and that you can lay the groundwork and the foundation for the future. But
the last time there was a
six-way
ballot, time there was a six-way ballot, an independent won, and he beat a well-liked Democrat by the name of Frank Caprio. So there is a possibility, and however much the polls do show that possibility for the existing voters that do turn on the general election may be low, again, I believe that if I've done my job in empowering voters to understand that they have an option, that we can have a surprise next Tuesday.
All right, so we'll respect that hypothesis. 10 seconds on why you ought to be elected.
Rhode Islanders need help. Rhode Islanders need affordable, accessible, high-quality health care, and the only way to do that is to invest in community health. The only way to do that is to stabilize health insurance premiums by opening up our borders. The only way to edify our people is to provide vocational training for our youth and a civic service program that can mitigate the youth violence that we're seeing across the state. There are ways to create local economies and strengthen them, and that's by edifying people, and I'm the candidate that's focused on doing that.
Good luck.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks. Final word when we come back. Stay with us. All right, most likely that wraps up our conversations about the Tuesday election. Now look, if you're informed, get out and vote. If you're not informed, well, we'll touch base on a couple of our thoughts about the election on Monday. We'll most likely visit the conversation about Pittsburgh and the vigil earlier this week, which was very touching, very poignant, very solemn, and just devastatingly sad. What a world, right? We'll see you on the radio as well at 3 until 6 on WPRO. Have a great weekend.